Polling expert Sir John Curtice has told Brexiteers that if Boris Johnson fails to achieve more than 326 seats at the election, Brexit is almost certainly doomed. Sir John Curtice has warned Brexiteers against splitting the Leave vote if they want to leave the EU by the end of January 2020. The leading poll expert warned that if Boris Johnson falls below 326 seats, the UK is almost certainly heading for a second referendum which is likely to be won by Remainers. In another shock election forecast, Sir John put the chances of Jeremy Corbyn achieving a majority at 0%. Speaking to Channel 4 News, the veteran political analyst said that the Brexit-dominated election came down to a binary choice. He said, "Everyone in opposition but the DUP is for a second referendum, so once Boris dips below the 326 mark required for a majority, his ability to remain in office would be extremely difficult. In that case, a minority Labour government would come to power. If it's a hung parliament, there would almost certainly be an extension and a second referendum. Or, we get a majority for Boris and we leave on the 31st of January and he leads the negotiations for the EU trade deal." The Strathclyde University election expert told Channel 4's Gary Gibbons that the Tories were about 2-1 odds to win a majority. He said, "It's about a 66% probability. Corbyn's majority chances is about as close to zero as to be effectively zero. But this election is about whether Boris gets a majority or not." During the interview, both Sir John and Professor Matthew Goodwin of the University of Kent agreed that a Conservative majority is most likely at this stage. However, the two polling experts refused to rule out a hung parliament. The latest opinion poll averages have shown that the Tories' lead has been steadily growing throughout the week. The Tories have increased their lead from 34 to 40% over the past 2 weeks as parties gear up for the 12th of December election. Sir John added that the Brexit Party's decision not to field candidates against Conservative incumbents was not as dramatic a transformation of the Tory prospects as the initial headlines suggested. According to YouGov, the Labour Party could face their worst election result in a century in some parts. The pollsters said in a tweet, "Both main parties down everywhere, but Labour have been hit particularly hard and are on course for their worst performance in more than 100 years in Scotland and Wales." Polls in Scotland have currently put the SNP on around 40% of the vote, while Labour has dropped to 20% north of the border.